Grandmama used to pray, oh Lord, please save them from the evil snares and all the dangers that entangle. Yea, though they walking through the valley of the shadows, just prepare and make them fit for every battle, because I know they bound to come, and I know they bound to fall, but in your bounty, Lord, preserve their beautiful. Right, we still survive and offer grandma's prayers, surrounded by the jungle and the lion's den. Tread light, cause these traps is inconspicuous. They hide right in plain sight, thinking we don't see them when they linger. Look right beneath the surface, then leave a trail of corpses. Crisis, prices, your life a disposable commodity, like living in a fantasy, conditioned to believe that the system even cares whether selling CDs or walking or driving or reading. Look, they don't even need a reason. It's just you breathing and being black. When it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all, at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming bloody murder. Said it got me screaming. This gritty city got me on some. Look, get your hand up on my pocket. Distraction, so lazy they use the same tactics, like condom with some trinkets. Just don't let them get to thinking. That light bulb gets a blinking. You know niggas and ideas. Oh dear, my dear, you may not know me, but I know you very well. Foresight, they say hindsight is 20/20. Well, tell me something, we gotta see that history is on repeat, and maybe it takes a beat and a melody to speak a little louder than the message in the clouds or the essence in the air. I swear, my God is just so clear that a system driven by fear can never give us nothing but more of the same things. Oh, when it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming. It's murder. Got me screaming, got me. This gritty city got me on some.
On fire, set ablaze by Bookman, 100,000 slaves and those unafraid who heard through the wire. You inspired Denmark, Bessie, and Nat Turner. Countless rebellions with machetes and burners. Maroons armed in their own farms with a village arm, chopping up arms of slave masters. And all sell out sounding alarms if they had to. Black Pearl, unfurl your flag of hope. Black Pearl, white fang, still clutch your throat. Black Pearl, you inspired the world. Black Pearl, you're still a black pearl to me. Bomba, Kango, Bafio te, Kanga, Mundele, Kanga, Doki, La, Kanga, Lisa, Pasena, Mbule, Liberté, Haiti.
Ça passe, ça café, tout le monde haïtien, ça café. La boule, mon cher. Liberté, nous besoin de liberté pour pays moins. Haïti, chérie, chantez. Ça passe, tout le monde. liberté, liberté pour peuple moi avec pays moi. Haïti, Haïti, chérie.
In the spirit of my Kendana, Wakaiman, voodoo ceremony initiating Haitian liberation. Russian waters a la balas, there's no taming. Drown the orchestrators of this coup against their nation. Through political isolation, economic asphyxiation, Aristide was a stabilized, he wouldn't agree to privatization. That's when the US IMF him with sanctions of blaming the faces to the bicentennial celebration. The CIA organized landowners and merchants under Group 184 and convergence. Trained illegal insurgents, putting murders back into service. Papa Doc Lynchman, Frav henchmen, to which the media was wordless. But the people of Haiti are resilient, their future like their past will be brilliant. Black Jacobins be smashing the myth of white supremacy. Both their legacy and destiny, it's time for Dessalines.
Ça passe, tout le monde ça passe. La boule, africaine, la boule. Liberté, nous besoin liberté pour pays moi. Haïti, Haïti, chérie. Encore. Ça passe, tout le monde. La boule, I'm hot. Liberté, liberté pour peuple moi avec pays moi. Haïti, Haïti, chérie.
What's happening, good people? We are live and direct. RSTV, you know what we do around here. We bring you that critical political action. We make sure that we give you what you need. We got to give the people what they need. That was my people, the welfare poets, Sac Passe. You know what I mean? They, again, if you're not familiar with the welfare poets, get up on them. Check out some of their earlier works. You know what I mean? They're true to it. Not only are they cultural workers, but they're freedom fighters. You know, they put in work from, you know, all over the world. They give that Pan-African feel, you know, and that live band, and they make sure that, you know, that we keep revolution in the forefront. Because sometimes, you know, folks be rapping for rapping's sake, and, you know, that ain't what it's about. Today, we have a freedom fighter, an attorney, Ezili Danto. She's a human rights and international law attorney. She's an award-winning playwright, performance poet, and cultural artist. She was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, but she's raised here in the U.S. She's a Haitian scholar and runs the Ezili Network, the Free Haiti Movement, the Haitian Lawyers Leadership Network, Ezili Designs, and Ezili Dio, Clean Water, Renewal, Power, and Skills Transfer for Haiti. She's the author of 10 plays and a 2-book series. And that is and so much more, you know, but I think I met her about 30 plus years ago up in Connecticut, you know. I think that was around 92. So y'all do the math. I ain't gonna, you know, go too far on that. But yeah. I'm happy to have her on here for the second time. So without further ado, here we go. What's going on, Ezili Danto? How you feeling?
How you doing, my brother? How you doing?
I'm alive on arrival. I'm ready to burn it down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's a good day to be African. How you feel about that?
I guess so. It definitely is. Every day it has to be.
Without a doubt. I want to start off. Yeah. I want to start off because I know that you know, your name has historical meaning, you know, and I want to jump into that because I think that sometimes, you know, folks hear certain names and they just think that, you know, it's a name that's cute, or that you know, you just wanted to change your name and the sound a certain way or whatever. So we like to, you know, educate in order to liberate. So give us some background on where your name comes from.
Sure. So Ezili Danto in the Haitian culture is the most powerful feminine archetype. She's the warrior mother. That's what she is. And in our history, it was her irreducible essence that mounted the women at the priestess at the Vodun ceremony that began the Haiti revolution back in 1791, after 300 years of European barbaric slavery. So that's what it is. That's where it comes from. The most Haitian, the most African, the most name, because the Africans who became Haitian in the land of the Tainos came from the Congo, the Nigeria, all the places, Angola. So they are the amalgamated tribes, Dahomey, Benin, West Coast, and they all went back to Ezili Danto.
No doubt. Appreciate you sharing that with the audience. I know that in about a week, it will mark 220 years since a powerful proclamation by Dessalines. 220 years. And I want to name my son after Dessalines, and his name is Kamati Dessalines. Shout out to Kamati Dessalines. So he don't have a choice.
Right.
I made a mistake and got this name. It is what it is. For folks who are not familiar with that proclamation, I want to take it back because, folks are looking at, they're looking at the news and they're getting this BS version of what's going on. And, some people think that it started 20 years ago with the whole situation in 2004, which we'll talk about, but it goes beyond that, and we can take it all the way back as to why these ruthless warmongers, these devils, have been declaring war on Haiti for hundreds of years now. So if you don't mind, let's talk about, the beginnings, because you mentioned Haitian Revolution. And unfortunately, a lot of folks know nothing about it. In fact, I remember I had a store up in Bridgeport real quick, and there was a sister used to come through the store. And I said, one day I said, where you from? She said, I'm French. I said, French? So wow. I laughed and I said, you Haitian? she put her head down and said yes. I said, why you put your head down and you said you was French? So
Wow.
I schooled on the Haitian Revolution, and from that point, she came back a whole new person. So then she's like coming in with books, and she's proud to be that. But she'd identified with a colonizer so long that she thought she was French. And I'm just like, what the hell is French? But anyway, yeah. So if you don't mind tapping into that, let's talk about that.
Well, in the media right now, there's a psyop operation going on where they're bandying around the word revolutionary. Without hyperbole, without exaggeration, the warriors, the African warriors who fought the Haitian Revolution, are the greatest warriors to ever live on planet Earth. As far as we know in recorded history, they're the only ones that were able to beat their masters who had enslaved them in combat, and to replace the masters and create a unique nation that has nothing to do with Jefferson's 3/5 human Constitution. The Constitution you're talking about for November 29th, is it March 29th?
April
No,
8th.
April.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's all good as late, and it's early over there. Go ahead.
So you have this space here doing, in Africa, we are obviously the people of the sun, the original to planet Earth. We've been around for thousands and thousands of years. Our history doesn't go back to his Abrahamic religion, So we've been around. We've created civilizations, but there was a war going on in Africa. And there was 1,200 years of Arab slavery in North Africa. And then the Europeans came, and Haiti is the first place in the Western Hemisphere where the Mahafa for us started, us Black people that live in the Western Hemisphere. So that's where it started. And then the Taino Arawak Amerindians that were on the island, they fought them back. They killed them to extinction, about 1 million people. And then they brought Africans to work their lands. And then 300 years later, we had always been resisting. We did a revolution. It lasted 13 years. And when it was finished, there were 50,000 British dead in our waters, between 30 to 70,000 French, and then of course the Hispanics. So it was a war. It wasn't a skirmish. We replaced France. Since that time, the Europeans have been fighting each other. They've been, they're warmongers, and they won't let us go. They want to finish Leclerc's imperative from Napoleon. In 1800, Napoleon became emperor, and he wasn't going to stay and have the most powerful, the most lucrative colony. We were the most lucrative colony in the world. We provided between 40 to 60% of the sugar and coffee that Europe used. Our lifespan, our ancestors' lifespan, was between 3 to 6 years. They worked us to death and then just replaced us. So they thought they were just going to replace us. So Napoleon came, and my ancestors, led by Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the greatest hero to ever live, beat him. And it's now 220 years later, and we've been fighting so that they don't do to us what they did to the natives and we took their name, right? Dessalines, when he created this nation, he took the name of the indigenous who lived there, so that we can always remember and lift them up. Whenever you say Haiti, you're lifting up all that have been killed at the hand of these conquistadors, and then the French, and then the British. So that's what Haiti is. That's what it means. And it's a nation that's different than a republic.
So you said because there's going to be some people like the greatest hero that ever lived. Why would he be the greatest hero that ever lived? You know what I mean? So folks who are checking it out, give us a little brief on Jean-Jacques Dessalines. And we've had shout out to our great Mama Baina Bello. We've had her on as well. And she laid some things out. I think you all should definitely get her book around Sheroes of the Haitian Revolution. So definitely tap into that. But for folks who are not familiar with Dessalines, give us a little brief if you don't mind. Because some folks
Sure.
gonna be like, man, I thought Al Sharpton was the greatest that ever lived. So I don't want to insult nobody. So,
I'll tell you, he's the greatest hero to ever live. I run the Free Haiti movement, and Dessalines' ideas are what's at the foundation of what we're pushing, what we're fighting for, what we stand for. He stood for a Black-ruled independent nation. The general that he was under, the one that France kidnapped, which was Toussaint Louverture, and killed in France. And then Dessalines rose, and he got together all the other Black generals, and then they beat Napoleon, the greatest hero or the greatest general of the Europeans. So that's one, right? Nobody else beat Napoleon. I mean, they keep making movies about Napoleon, but they have never made a movie about the man who beat him all over the Caribbean and forced him to leave his dreams of empire in America aside. Because Napoleon had the dream that at that time, they owned what you guys know as the Louisiana Purchase, the Louisiana Territory, which because of Dessalines and what he did, Napoleon was going bankrupt. And so he sold to Jefferson that territory. And that territory made America the superpower it is. So bow down. That's Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Of course, he wasn't intending to do that. But that shows you just the level of repercussion that his revolution has had. In addition, he wrote to Jefferson, and he wrote publicly to all sea captains of the triangular trade. We're talking about 1804. The Black America did not get emancipated until after the Civil War, during the Civil War, 1861. So that's 61 years, right? We started 1791, right? We freed ourselves. And then it became official in 1804. But here you have when one of the first acts of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the greatest hero to ever live, was to say to all slaveholders, I will take your cargo and I will pay for them. And when they set their foot on the land of Haiti that I rule, they will be free and a citizen. That, of course, scared the bejeebies out of the Southern planters who expected Black people to toil for them until kingdom come. Yeah. And that's why you don't study Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Also, there were women in the army. I'm going to tell you about the woman who raised him. But before I want to do that, let me tell you about how he was, he helped set the pattern so that we freed 5 Latin American countries from slavery. Latin America, right? Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia. Yes, that was the work of Jean-Jacques Dessalines. It was continued by Pétion in the South after he killed Dessalines. But the point is that because Dessalines succeeded at the Battle of Vicher, the idea that white people are superior got its biggest blow ever. Because since forever, they've been doing divide and conquer on the Gold Coast of Africa, to have us constantly in crisis like they're doing today with colonialism. So that's why he's the greatest hero to ever live, because what he did inspired revolutions all over the planet, not just white. It inspired, for instance, the Greeks to try to to declare independence from the Ottoman Empire. And the Greek royalty came to Haiti to thank our presidents for the help that we sent. I think we sent coffee and resources for them to have to make into money so that they can buy ammunition. We also, of course, if you all know anything about the various United States rebellions, like Charles DeLong, he was Haitien, came from Haiti. Nat Turner, when he was caught and on trial, and the judge asked him, who else is with you? Who's your leader? And he said, Jean-Jacques Dessalines. And the judge says, find me that Negro. He was like, oh, he's long gone.
Wow.
So yeah, Dessalines has inspired many revolution, many people who are oppressed. They look at what he did. It's, even Spartacus, all the slaves that the Europeans had in their sojourn with slavery. No one ever did this. Now, on the other, in terms of women, Jean-Jacques Dessalines was born in slavery and in Haiti. And he, some people say he was born in Africa, but I think the preponderance of the evidence is like he was a young man in Haiti, enslaved, and there was a Dahomean warrior from the elite Dahomean army who was captured and put into slavery in Haiti. Her name is Toya, Toya. And she was on the same plantation as the young Jean-Jacques Dessalines. She tried to raise an army to fight. And when she saw that that was not possible at that time, she took the children. She was a healer. A lot of the women that had higher status within the slave system were healers, because they were working their cargo, their property, their enslaved people to death. And so each little plantation had a small clinic. And at some point, she stopped working in the fields and was more valuable to the master inside that hospitalier little hospital. And then she had there was something called the third shift. So the first shift would be the hard labor, cutting the sugar cane and so on. And then they had the people that work at night to do the processing and so on. And then they had the children who would go out into the fields once the laborers had left to pick up all the cuttings. And she was supervising the children after she did her shift at the hospital, at the little clinic. There, she took her spear, or she created a spear out of the Sith, right? You know, the thing with the half circle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She created yes.
Yeah,
She created a sphere, a spear out of it, and then she would surreptitiously teach the children how to fight the way she had fought for years in Dahomey.
Mm.
So Dessalines was one of her best students. He became the liberator. And when he became the liberator, she never wore a European uniform during the war. During the war, the Maroons, she was a Maroon later on in life, and after she raised Dessalines, and some of the warriors that fought in the Haitian Revolution were taught not only by the Dahomean warriors who had been fighting in Africa and then got to Haiti, but also the Congo warriors and the Oyos and the Mandinkas and all of those. Everybody got together as one to fight back. They were no longer fighting each other because of the division that were being intensified by the European on the Gold Coast. So he called her his aunt, and I think the children call her Tante Toya. There's a famous story about how when Dessalines declared independence, he built a great castle for his wife, Félicité Bonheur. And when Toya was hurt in battle, and so she came to live with him, and she was living with in his house, in his palace. He gave her a title. She was, because he created the empire of Haiti, and he became Emperor Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Right? He didn't want to do a republic. So, and the Empire of Liberty has more than a territorial space, because he wanted it to be a space where anyone who is fleeing injustice or tyranny, they would have a place in Haiti, because he said all Haitians are going to be known by the appellation Black. So even the 100 or so Germans and Polish who fought on the side of the African warriors, who came with the Leclerc army, because, you know, Napoleon was rampaging through Europe, and he would conquer, let's say, Poland and so on, and then he would conscript their soldiers to go fight his wars in the Americas. So, but when they got to Haiti, they were like, why are we fighting them? They're fighting for their freedom like we were. Those folks, when Haiti liberated itself, he put in his constitution that all Haitians are Black, including the whites who fought for liberty. So that's the different in ideology. He was a thinker. He wanted to include everybody under this Black nation. And so he gave the appellation Black, which is an ancient reward, an ancient so that if you look at it, right, the ancients, Black was something that was venerated, right? Kemet means Black. Okay. Ethiopia means Black. Sudan means Black. Washita means Black. So he was raised by, warriors who knew their story. Samurai, for instance, means Black. So the European who was, steady trying to, just like right now, they're trying to take the word revolutionary and associating it with petty criminals like, Jimmy Cherizier Barbecue. He flipped it on the European, took back the indigenous association of Black with greatness and civilization and warriorship, and gave it even to the whites who fought. So that for Haitien, Black means warriorship. And so it didn't just have a racial connotation. It was also about character. Even to this day, because of Dessalines' thinking that you'll never know, because the Europeans never going to explain it to you because they want to bury us and marginalize it. You have this ideology that Black goes back to warriorship, to original civilization. And even if you're white in terms of biologically Caucasian, if your character stood for warriorship and against slavery and rape and murder, then you are Black. So Dessalines wasn't just a statesperson, an emperor, a general unmatched who beat the greatest general of the Europeans, beat the British, the French, the Spanish, liberated and inspired liberation of millions upon the millions of people. Also, like I said, he was specifically trained by the Congo warriors and the Dahomean warriors, and specifically Tantoya. And when he created Haiti and he created the empire, he gave her he made her a duchess. He gave her a title. And when she was dying from some of her injuries, he was besides himself. And the first national funeral in Haiti was for Tantoya.
That's serious. That is it's a heavy story.
I'm writing that story.
Yeah, I want to ask you because I'm with everything that he was talking about on that level. I want to know, do you still hold that same regard as far as the European fighting on behalf of what's right? Would you consider them Black or what's your take on that? Yeah, because I know that people are gonna want to know.
I haven't met any yet. I've never met any. Right now, the bane of our existence are the white folks. Dessalines had said that his name is going to be, reviled by them. They're only going to say his name in order to curse him. And he was right. They do. They only curse his name. They'll tell you about Toussaint Louverture, right? Because Toussaint Louverture kind of loved the French and was a little bit more, Catholic and Eurocentric. Dessalines he is the only warrior of the Haitian Revolution that became a loi. Ezili Danto, the archetype that I'm named after, is a loi. She's an irreducible essence of all that is of a woman warrior energy, beauty and femininity. What is female? Dessalines is the essence of what is male and warriorship and protector and liberator, the blacksmith. So he is the only one who he's now become synonymous with Ogu. Okay. And I see if you celebrate Ogu, you're celebrating Jean-Jacques Dessalines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
That did not happen for any of the other warriors. So Dessalines is very unique. He ascended because what happens to us in our ancestor spirituality is that if you represent an energy that is universal, that is very strong in your lineage as a Black person, when you pass, that energy gets multiplied and will. So he actually became Ogu. Today, I see a lot of people talking about Ogu, but they don't even know how to make a weapon. If you're Ogu, you have to look. Ogu is the blacksmith. He's the one. We were the first people to use iron, and that was Ogu. And we have forgotten that, because the first thing their education tells us is all kinds of other things that have nothing to do with how you survive.
Right.
But Ogu has. When I go to a peristyle and someone tells me there's Ogu, I said, where's your melting? Where's your iron works? Right. So that's what it is. Like Ezili protects children and weak, those that are weak, for instance, right? So when the UN left between 500,000 to 1 million babies after 13-year the minister mission that came in 2004 and left around 2017, right? I try to sue the UN on behalf of the children that were left without support, financial support, parental support, right? I did the only case the first case that's ever been tried against a pedophile, a white guy named Douglas Perlitz, who passed himself off as a charity worker and was daily abusing little boys in an orphanage up in the north, right? We helped put him in jail for 20 years. That's what Ezili does. She protects children.
Right on.
So just like what Ogu does, right? So we're looking for Ogu. So what you see out in the streets is nothing to do with Ogu, because if you hurt, Dessalines actually is the only Black man I know who wrote a constitution where he defined what a Black man is. Yes, look it up. You can find it on online. Just look up the 1805 Haiti Constitution. Okay. So he defined a Black man as a good husband, a good son, a good father, and above all, a good soldier. Imagine if our community took that to heart.
That's a serious oath right there. That alone, I have the proclamation behind me now. I want to, because
yes. Are you beginning to see the greatest hero who ever lived?
I'm seeing. So we know I'm not French, but anyway,
we definitely know that.
Nowhere near.
God. I actually just noticed that liberty or death. Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, yes. This ain't the U.S. out here, so we clear.
So yeah, so when you see these petty criminals who are burning the houses of people who don't have anything, they couldn't be part of anything of what Dessalines put together. Right. They're not good fathers, good sons, good husbands. They're raping people.
Right. They're part of the state at this point.
They are CIA assets, and it's a script, it's a psyop going on. But they do have two white men, Dan Cohen and Kim Eyes, who are running around getting these men media exposure and saying these are revolutionaries trying to free Haiti from the imperialists.
Wow.
Yeah.
So boy, they'll flip it any way they can and have us regurgitating it. You mentioned the minister mission, right? And I know that that was part of the whole 2004 coup d'etat that was orchestrated by the U.S., Canada, France, I believe, and this was, to pretty much oust the Democratic elected leader at that particular time. Can you talk about that? Because we're talking about, I can't believe it's been 20 years. I remember it was going down, and here we are, 2024, and really, to be honest with you, you could kind of take a newspaper from 2004 and 2024, and you damn near wouldn't know the difference when it comes to what's going on here now.
Exactly. Except instead of saying Guy Philippe is the freedom fighter, today they're saying it's barbecue. That's it. Right. No difference.
Right. So, make that correlation. Like how does that connection, work? Because that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's the same year that the core group came into existence as well.
That's right. So we took our independence, fought for our independence, and won it in 1804. So 200 years later is 2004.
Right.
And they did not want a democratically elected president at the helm, right? Because then that would mean, we're successfully moving forward.
Sure.
They needed to knock us back out to what you see now, a wasteland. So sometime in December, I believe, 2003, there was a meeting. It was called the Ottawa Initiative meeting, and it was a meeting of ambassadors and foreign ministers, white ambassadors and foreign ministers. No Haitian was there, and they decided these ambassadors that the Haiti was going to have a population of 20 million in 2019, and they said that was a bomb waiting to happen. You must understand that even after the occupation that they occupied us from 2004 to 2017 and continue to occupy us in a different form, they're just not in that uniform anymore. The United States have been ruling Haiti since 2004. We keep fighting back. I've been doing Free Haiti since the day they put their boots on our land in 2004, because that called up Ezili Danto. As you know, I was doing, entertainment law, so far away from this, but they call up my archetype. And I didn't want to really spend my life doing this, but that's how it ended up. So 20 years later, so I started Free Haiti the day they put their boots on Haiti, and essentially deported. They deported, just like they deported Toussaint from Haiti, France. Mm-hmm. They deported Aristide to the Central African Republic. And then they put in, and they said that Guy Philippe, this was a former policeman. They always used former policemen. Remember Toto Constant, former policeman, military that they train, and then Guy Philippe, former policeman, and now Barbecue is a former policeman. So these are all their assets.
Right.
They just give them different scripts at different times. So in 2004, they told you, they had the same interviews you see now they're doing to Barbecue, they used to do with Guy Philippe, and Wolf Blitzer and those people at CNN used to call him a freedom fighter, come to save the Haitian from Aristide, the dictator. That's how they sold it then. Okay. And the Ottawa unit, the core group, the group of filthy scum jackals who call themselves ambassadors, and I'm actually quoting the first historian of Haiti. He said this in 1804. I'd like every man to know who Jean-Jacques Dessalines is, but I also like you to know this mulatto. His name is Bois-Tonnerre, and he was the secretary of Jean-Jacques Dessalines. And he wrote the first history of Haiti, published in 1804. When Dessalines was killed by the mulatto Pétion, who's very Eurocentric, Bois-Tonnerre wasn't. Bois-Tonnerre thought the French were scums. And he writes in his book, it's called Memory for the History of Haiti. This is a man who was the secretary of the greatest hero who ever lived, who traveled with him on his campaigns. And he wrote a book, and all the academics made as if it doesn't exist.
Wow.
You can actually find it online. It's in French, but there is one young brother on YouTube. You can just put his name, Bois-Tonnerre. He reads it in English. But let me just say to you that the way he begins, he says, before retracing the scenes of horror executed by the French, by these generals and French prefects and French governors that the various governments in France would send to Haiti. He says, like, these people were monsters and tyrants, evil assassins. This is the beginning of his book. I just read that to you. He was raw with it, right? So he told you exactly who they are. And I'm telling you right now, this is who they are today. Their descendants, the 6 nations who have come together at the level of partitioning Haiti is US led. So it's the United States, France, Canada, Germany, Spain, Brazil. And then they have 3 representatives from their World War II Bretton Woods organizations, the OAS, the UN, and the European Union. So this is what they call the core group. So it consists of the entire Western enslaver group of people. We know who the Brazilians were, right? We know how they treat in the favelas their Black people, right? They're part of the core group, right? We know the Spaniards first were the conquistadors that got to Haiti first, and they are in the form of the Dominican Republic right now on our borders. They were part of the core group, right? If you don't see Britain in there, it's because you're not looking at Canada. Canada is both France and Britain.
That's right.
You understand? So all of the enemies of humanity that were beaten by the warriors, male and female and children, if family went to war, have come back. And they came back 200 years later in 2004 during our bicentennial, when we had a first democratically elected president. And France, for the first time, put their boots on Haitian soil. And that was 2004. And now it's 20 years later. In the meanwhile, right, before that, you had 30 years of US-sponsored dictatorship with Duvalier. And before that, we were coming off of 19 years of US occupation, where Southern Marines went into Haiti and literally put the Haitians in back into slavery, right? Doing chain gang work, trying to get them to do plantations, and Haitians refused to do plantation work. So what they did do, they shipped them to Cuba and to Dominican Republic. That's how that happened, because the Haitians won't do that in Haiti. So, and of course, as you know, when we got our independence, France, the United States, all of them got together, and France kept trying to come back. And the only way they recognized our independence is that we had to pay reparation to all the former slavers. So for 1 century, more than 1 century, the Haitian had to pay everything they had to stop France from coming back. And then 200 years later, they come back. And then yesterday at the White House, the demon rats had a meeting with some Haitian elites, and they want Biden to come back in another mission that they called some called mission for security of Haiti. And it's laughable that after all we have suffered at the hands of the European, that any Black person would actually think that they would help save Black lives. Like, I don't know what planet they're living on. So that's kind of where we are. That 122 years of paying France back, we did that until from 1825 to 1915, when the United States, because of the Monroe Doctrine, came into Haiti itself as an occupier, took over the debt. But the Citibank boys were created. Citibank was created from taking over the debt and then having the Marines cart out Haiti's gold reserve. And to this day, Haiti's gold reserve is the property of Citibank in the United States.
It's bananas. I mean, just sitting here listening to you talk about, and of course, we've heard it before, but, just a reminder, you have Africans here talking about fighting for reparations. And then you have Haitians who are the descendants of freedom fighters, forced to pay their enslavers reparations for sticking their foot, part of my English, up their ass, for stomping them out, for cutting their heads off and burning their houses down. You know what I mean? So they want, you came up in this the arrogance of the European. You come up in my house, I serve you, I give you what you came for, and then all of a sudden I owe you for fucking you up.
Yep.
Yeah. So I owe you for that. They're amazing, boy. I'm telling you, man. It's like
it's more than that, because now they want to come. Now they want the land we paid for in
right.
Black blood.
Right.
300 years of slavery. 300 years of slavery we had. Then
the world's at an uproar.
Yes, and then we did 13-year war, where we started out with 500,000 Africans in 1791. By 1804, in that war, honor to all those ancestors that I'm talking about, half of them had died, had been killed.
Right.
250,000. So we paid 300 years of slavery, 250,000 lives during the revolution. Then they forced us to pay reparation for losing my grand as property.
Right.
For 122 years. Then in 2000, during our bicentennial, they all came back and made a sort of like Berlin Conference agreement with each other to divvy us up. And that's what we're fighting. And we fought hard alone for this last 20 years to stop and get rid of the UN, who left us, some people say between 500,000, definitely 500,000, but some people go as high as 1 million children, raped mothers. They left. They left us with cholera that we never had, that killed 30,000 Haitian and 1 to 3 million sick. And every time there's a rainy season, we get cholera again because it's in our system. They never fixed it. The UN.
Right. Right.
So and now they want to return. And then they have these Negroes speaking because what? They created this narrative of gangs on the streets of Port-au-Prince. Now remember, there are 13 million Haitians. Some people say 11 million, some people say 12 million. I go with 13 million. There are 13 million Haitians in Haiti. Port-au-Prince, where they say the gangs are, that's where the core group is.
Right.
Okay? It's always where they are.
Right.
Outside, yes, where the core group is. And it's because that space is, if you look at the Gulf of Port-au-Prince, the head of our oil is there, and the U.S. wants to depopulate that place in Port-au-Prince. That's why they created these gangs. Arm them. I'm not saying it. The UN has a report out there. If you guys want to learn anything, go to my website. I've laid it all out. The UN has a report that said that the guns that are being used by the men with U.S. arms, because they're U.S. arms from Florida, from U.S. spaces. And there's a resolution actually at the UN, I think it's 2653, that says that the resolution says that it wants all of its member states to stop trafficking arms to Haiti. We don't manufacture arms. So if it's in their hands, somebody's putting it in their hands, and they actually know. And I can tell you, who is arming barbecue? Who is arming all these men? It's the Syrian, Lebanese, Israeli oligarchs who own 98% of the Haitian local economy. Here are the ones that have been sanctioned. You guys can find it. Go look for it, because you're not going to see it in this theater of salaciousness that they keep putting out in front of you with barbecue. Oh, we eat people. He barbecues them. His name is Barbecue because his mother was a street vendor who sold barbecue.
Yeah. His mother, they're amazing.
This is what these white people need in order to sleep well, I guess. Who knows? I don't know. Okay, these media folks, right? So that's where we are, right? There's much resources in that Gulf of Port-au-Prince and La Gonave, and America's already there, people. Okay, this is like they're just like trying to cover themselves up with a cover and have these Al Sharpton and Eric Adams, and there's a few Haitians involved too, like Ron, and then there's Ron Daniels, of course. You know, that little snake has been doing things against, Black liberation since I came into to know who he was. They're all running around with the demon rats, running around trying to find a way to come into Haiti to do the same crap that they've been doing for the last 20 years, which is kill us, which is privatize public assets to the wealthy. So take the electricity company, the all the companies, and privatize it to these business people. There's no services that the government is supposed to give to the people, right? And then they bring the NGOs who bring, toxic lead-filled rice to the Haitian people, along with the guns that they have in those bags for the oligarchs or further. So that's what's going on in Haiti. We don't make those guns. We don't manufacture them. And I know those men, starving as they are, did not have no $5,000 to $8,000 to buy one.
Right. I'm listening to you, and going back to, you talked about how they have all these former cops in leadership, and then you see New York's finest, former cop, Eric Adams, and wire wearing Al, and these other Negroes, talking about our Haitian brothers and sisters need our help. You understand what I'm saying? Talking about, you know, repeating the line from the state narrative. You know,
Yeah.
the gangs are overrunning it. You know, it's a failed state. They need us because look at what they're doing to. It's the same old bullshit that these Europeans talked about freeing the savages on the continent of Africa. They never change their script. The names change, and the game
Never,
remains the same.
ever.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
Napoleon wrote to the slaves when he came to exterminate them. He wrote a letter to the slaves, and he says, don't fight. The troops, the Leclerc troops, are here to protect you against your foreign enemies. Okay, today they want to come and protect us against the gangs that they created and armed.
Like that. Right, right. Let's talk about some of the folks who are responsible for the arming of these
Mhm.
these gangs. You know what I'm saying? Because we know there's folks like Martelli and Gilbert Biggio and folks like that. Let's talk about who they are and their role, because I think the thing is oftentimes we let these fools get away without naming, exactly who they are. And I recall you was talking a little while ago, you talked about some of the countries that some of the nations that Dessalines helped to liberate, and a few of those have turned their back and they've become, mercenaries and allies to, to the U.S., to France, to the core group, so on and so forth. But let's talk about some of these financiers, because folks are, again, they're confused. They think, just like the so-called quote unquote gangs in LA and in Chicago, it's always someone arming. There's always an underlying factor that we don't see. We just see the whole black on black violence. You know what I'm saying? When we know that whenever there's some black on black, quote unquote, black on black violence, there's some European fingerprints somewhere in the midst. So who are some of these people, and what is their role in the destruction of this nation?
All right, so I'll tell you their names. The Canada has sanctioned these economic elites. These people own banks in Haiti. Their names are Carl Braun, Marc Antoine Acre, Jean-Marie Vaube, Gilbert Biggio, Martelly. So there's levels of economic riches with these people, So you have they freeze. Supposedly they're frozen their assets, but we know nothing about that. Nobody's telling us where it is, so we can put a lien on it for the people that are dead. So it's all a charade. But where did these people come from? I like to tell that story because it's not told by the academics, and it's definitely not told by the newspaper, who doesn't tell you that they exist. They'll not tell you who brought those guns for the men that's on the streets right now, killing innocent Haitians and depopulating that area. Remember, the United States says that it needs to depopulate Haiti, right? So it wants to keep, and we make 60%. We are 60% of the CARICOM population. CARICOM is a regional organization of Caribbean nations that there's 15 of it, including Haiti. But in all the 15, right, our population is 60% of their population, right? Jamaica, last time I looked, something like maybe 3 million. So we have, so much more. But Holmes and Mia Motley, Barbados, I guess, they are now the overseers, being given the task of putting a Haitian transitional government together. And the wild part is the condition for, they said that they just tell us this, right? Because we're children, you know, we're gonna be ruled by anyone the United States says to rule us, right? And right now they're really searching for the step and fetch it blackface. Okay, so they've gone to William Ruto of Kenya, and so they say Kenya is going to bring 1,000 troops, and then of course, you know, all these other Negroes who have more violence, right? Jamaica, you don't see them showing you all the violence of Jamaica every day,
Right.
for the last 20 years, right? It killed 3,000 people like a month, like,
They'll
but
come
that's
help
no
you though.
problem. Yeah, that's no problem. You know
Yeah.
why? Because they own Jamaica, and they're living in Wakanda in Jamaica, behind their gates with their own security. And outside, the people just wild, wild, wild west, trying to survive. You know, they just go there to find, you know, young men and sleep with them. That's what these hags do. So this is where we are. Well, those hags are the ones that are U.S. ambassadors creating these gangs. If you guys go to my Zilidlo, not Zilidlo, Zilidlo is a water project that I have in IET for clean water, solar power. But I have it's Ezili Danto at Instagram without the E, just Ezili Danto. You see, you know, I used to write a lot, but people don't read. So, you know, I just don't write. I just do these small, hopefully that would be better. Videos and pictures, and I put them on Instagram. And so I have one. So that's really what's kind of going on the streets. You have the United States wants to depopulate Haiti because of all the riches we have and because of the strategic position. And the template is the same from slavery, right? They've got their overseers who they substituted for the Haitian mulattoes that were like the patrons and the boys, the one that killed Dessalines back in 1806, right? And that agreed to the reparation to their parents in France. So what you have is the Mundele, the stranger, the colonist, then the black collaborator, and then the people who are enslaved. During the end of the Ottoman Empire, France and Britain got together in a secret treaty called Sykes-Picot, where they divided the Middle East. And France got Syria and Lebanon. France is a Catholic nation. The minorities that were not Muslim in this Ottoman Empire, they're the ones that are now the Frenchmen in Haiti. They call them Arabs to try to make you as if they're not French.
Right.
You guys getting me? So when you see,
yes.
when you see Gilbert Bijou from Aleppo, right? His family wasn't Muslim. They were Catholic. The United States and France got together and knows that if you saw a Frenchman coming to Haiti to control 98% of the economics, Africans would like stand up. Like what? But these Arabs, who you're not really sure if they're black or not, they come in. And the same way the United States does use immigrants against black people in America, right? They came in and they, just like they do for the Koreans and the Chinese and the others, they gave them financial support until they were able to move up and get rid of the mulatto elites and the black elites. So right now, the elites in Haiti are Syrian, Lebanese, and those guys, right? And they're Christian, Catholics. There's one who's Israeli. His name is Gilbert Bijou. So they're Middle Eastern operatives. The way U.S. runs his hegemony is it will take one family member in as a general trained to fight in their wars in the Middle East. And then they'll give the younger brother and the wives of these people a place to live in Haiti or Honduras or Jamaica or Sierra Leone. Go to any of these countries. Ask who are their presidents. Lebanese, Syrian, right? Just look at Jamaica or the Dominican Republic, Abinader, Lebanese. Look at Sierra Leone, Syrian. So they put all those buffer races ahead of us. And then they use them as the new worldwide overseers. That's who they are. Gilbert, these guys, right? These Middle Eastern people. And I mean, they're captured also because they might get to have the younger brother go to Colombia because the United States gives them visas and grants and access to Harvard and so on. But another brother is going to be the CIA handler doing the brother of for the Muslim, you know, that's how they run their stuff.
Right.
You understand? That's why you see a lot of South Koreans in black neighborhoods. Right? Because the United States is in a fight with North Korea.
So a lot of these folks are families of folks who worked with the CIA. You know
That's
what I mean?
right.
Folks
and generals who are high up in levels, right? And the way the United States does it is that it uses our nations, our Caribbean nations, Jamaica, all of them, as drug spaces. So all of these people control. So they've taken every symbol of nationhood from us. Right? Because the custom is controlled by these people. The everything is controlled by them. So Colombia, for instance, is where all that the United States, you know, the young guy in Baltimore doesn't know where the cocaine is coming from, but it's coming from Colombia, right? The United States control that. And then they ship it through the ships of these oligarchs that they allow to have shipping access. And then it ends up in Baltimore. And then they feed my children to the prison industrial complex. And they make money on three sides. And the money they make, they use the percentage, a big percentage of it, to fight their wars in the Middle East.
Serious assembly line. They have it going.
Assembly line. We need to wake up.
Hey, well, I mean, that's a whole nother story for a different day. We know that you have a lawsuit. You're suing to block the U.S. backed deployment of Kenyan troops in Haiti. That's the word on the street. Let's talk about that. That's a pretty bold and brave move. Talking about, you know, so
I've never even seen that. I gotta write it down.
Yeah,
I did. Thank you. I didn't even. I kept telling people I haven't seen one newspaper. Where is that one coming from?
This is the JacksonAdvocateOnline.com.
Oh, okay.
This one came out December 4th of last year.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, we do. I do have a case. So while the integrated Negroes are running around trying to get another occupation, because I'm that lawyer that spends her whole life trying to represent and defend people who have no defense. I do what I can. And so we don't want another occupation of any form. So Ariel Henry, who is the prime minister of Haiti, illegal, unpopular, and put into office by a tweet by a white woman named Ellen Lalume. And, you know, it's like, right? So she just said a tweet.
Wow.
She put him in office. Okay.
Is that like an absentee vote? That's the new absentee vote?
It's the new absentee votes. And I guess, you know, he's representing them because right now he's in California somewhere and no Haitian know where he is. Who knows what he's signing, right? And the script is that he can't come to IAT because the gangs are in the streets. You understand? So the U.S. controls both the illegal, unpopular, not put in by any Haitian prime minister who's somewhere being protected somewhere, they tell me, in California or Puerto Rico by special services. And then they control the men on the streets, killing my people, and then creating this crisis so that the assimilated Negroes can go to Biden and say, please go help those Haitians. Oh, those visuals look a mess.
Right.
So it's manufactured consent for the U.S. occupation, right? I filed a case when, late 2023. At that time, I was helping the lawyers in Kenya who also filed a case against the Kenyan government with the same allegations. Our allegation is that our allegation is that the UN resolution authorizing this mission is unconstitutional according to Haitian law. And we say that in this lawsuit, I say that Ariel Henry is illegal and has no legal authority to say anything in our name, much less bring in a foreign invasion troops. He can't sign anything. And you could see he went to Kenya to sign some bilateral agreement, and then supposedly he can't come back. But guess what, the United States? Okay, so it's like my case was proven. Right? But guess what the United States did? It didn't gather together some step-and-fetched CARICOM Negroes. Okay, to say, hey, out of the blue, nobody talks to us. They're going to put together a 7-head transitional government. But guess what? The first condition is, if you want to be part of this 7-head transitional government, you must first agree to Kenyan troops coming to Haiti.
Wow. I mean, when I heard,
give me some words, please.
I mean, when I heard, because Kenya was talking about sending 1,000 troops, is that correct?
Yes.
I think it was 1,000 troops. 1,000 troops to Haiti to help fight gang violence. I mean, if I couldn't imagine the U.S. allowing any quote unquote African forces onto their streets or to talk about now they send Israelis here all the time. Of course, I'm in Atlanta, so you have Gilly, the Georgia International Law Enforcement Exchange, which is an exchange between Israel and the U.S., which has been going on here for about 31 years. So they actually train troops right here in Georgia. NYPD has a headquarters in, I believe in Tel Aviv, and it's just like, so we're used to that type of exchange, but there would never be. I wish a Kenyan would.
Come to America.
Say. Exactly. I mean, first of all, just you even getting here, and I want to point out too, because I hear a lot of Africans here in the United States that talk about immigrants, right? Now, when you study what's going on with ICE, these quote unquote immigrant detention centers, these are mainly Haitians that are being deported. a lot of folks think that, you know, oh, they're Mexican or they're from this place, whatever, so on and so forth. When they talk about this deportation situation, the majority of these folks are Haitians who are being held in these camps, you know, which they're waiting to ship back or to deport, more or less. I'm amazed when I heard the whole thing about Kenya and Jamaica. It really shows us the insanity of the Negro worldwide. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you talk about Kenya, again, it's like this logo that you see at the bottom of the thing is the Siafu ant. It comes from Kenya. You know what I mean? We revere folks like Denan Kimathi and the Land and Freedom Army, you know, which they call the Mau Mau. All of these freedom fighters that come up out of Kenya, and you have the audacity to side. I mean, the Kenyans kicked the British ass. You know what I mean? And you have the audacity to side with them and with the French and with the US and so on and so forth, to go against your brothers and sisters. You know, I mean, it's insanity on a whole nother level. Like you said about Jamaica, it was like, I thought I was reading and hearing things, because I couldn't imagine
Jamaica's going to come to help us with our gangs.
I mean, that right there is like,
you know, I don't know if your audience understands what that means.
I mean, listen,
there's a state of emergency right now in Jamaica because of their gangs, but you're not going to see that on CNN.
Of course not.
Because they own the land and own the tourism.
Right. And when you say they, who is they? It's not the Jamaicans. It's not
the Jamaicans. Who owns Jamaica?
No, of course. So you know,
didn't they just have the king over there?
Oh my goodness.
Their highest court is the highest Jamaican court is still in England. Wow. You understand? You know, but let me tell you how. You know, before I tell you, let me read some, because I said, you know, if I get stuck, I'm gonna read some Brown Tonnerre, because Brown Tonnerre, he helps me get through this sometimes. You know,
I see you drinking the water. You might need some rum. I don't know.
I know, right?
get the dark rum. Go by the altar. You know.
I know, right? So he's like, these bunch of filth known by the titles of ambassadors. That's how I'm going to call them, right? He says, you know, we are the targets of all tyrants, intriguers, and violent scums of Europe. Okay, now that I got that little courage, let me tell you about the Kenya thing.
There was a one, you should have read that in the beginning. That's a wonderful way to.
I just had to do it.
Highly accurate.
He helped me get through, because you got to trace all their perfidy, all of their lies. You understand?
Right.
The audacity, right? So the violence rate in Jamaica has been going on, and black people have been killing black people for 30 years. Right. No media blitz is going on about that at all. So there's a reason why they're doing the media blitz in IET. And so, you know, this whole kind of Kenya thing, like I said, they said, okay, let me give you, this is the thing, right? When you're dealing with the CIA, they can bust your head out, because they purposely make no sense. Right. And so I learned.
Did you say that one more time? Purposely make no sense. That is like, it's a concerted effort. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, we're not even going to act like we're going to make sense. We're going to tell you anything. We're just going to tell you whatever come to my mind first. Google Gob. Okay, cool. That's what it is.
Right. Okay. And they create the same, they give the same name to their gangs. I remember, like, back in 2004, I at that time I was still doing art, and I had a West African dance troupe, and they were trying to get rid of Laurent Gbagbo, and my dancers were from the Ivory Coast and so on. And I remember they were talking about this group of gangs that was created by the CIA called Samama, without mothers. And then all of a sudden I'm in IET and I hear there's a group. It's like the same CIA guy went from one to the other and created the same and gave it the same name.
Yeah, he's like,
And
they
so
won't
they
know.
had Samama and IET.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, they don't care.
They don't. Why should they?
They really don't care because our people are so helpless and so ridiculous. So let me tell you, this makes no sense, and I'm sorry to mess up your mind, but hey, listen to me. While they have these, I don't know what they call them, okay? You media people talking about, oh, what's going in IT? We got to go help our brothers. I'm like, where have you been the last 30 years as I was fighting? Right? At least you were here. So, all right. The CIA predator, the intelligence folks, they run chaos. They create chaos and then they work through chaos. They create divisions and internal strife. So, and they've been doing it successfully for over 500 years. I mean, it's time we wised up. So at the same time that the United States is saying that it's got this UN sanctioned mission to have Kenya bring 1,000 troops to Haiti, police troops. At the same time it's saying that, the United States has something called the Biden program. There are 4 nations in the Biden program. It's an immigration program. It's Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, and Haiti. 4 places that they don't control yet in the Western Hemisphere. Now say them again. Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Haiti. I remember back in the day when my mom would like bring some relative and have me do their paperwork. You know, the husband was in America legally, came through Kennedy Airport, and now he's working and he's going to send sponsorship papers for his wife. It used to take about 5 to 7 years. That's how long it would take to bring the wife and the family legally. A long time. Right now, under the Biden program, Haitians, Nicaraguans, you guys know, what they all have in common besides, okay, so the 3 of them have Russia in common as an ally. IT is the only one fighting alone with nobody. Okay. Yeah. We are the resistance. So, so they want the brain drain. They want the ICN with some level of education out of there. So I'm going to give you 2. I can't say mine F, so you got to give me some word.
You can say that. This is RSTV. I've cursed a couple times, and I'm used to you cursing in real life, and you've been so mild and everything, and I'm feeling bad because folks are like, I can't believe he's cursing in front of her. So you got me feeling like an outlaw right now.
No. So they mind F you, right? Okay. So here's the mind F people. So they're saying that, and they went to the UN, and remember, the UN is the most undemocratic institution, right? From World War II, right? It's made up of 5 Security Council folks that have veto power, right? Russia, China, United States, England, and France, right? They got veto power, which means that they can stop anything that the 194 others want. So, but Russia and China did not stop this resolution to bring in troops from okay. So remember that as the young brothers out there in Nigeria, not Nigeria, Burkina Faso and Mali and so on are thinking that maybe Wagner and Europe, because the cousins, they work together at a certain point in time. They don't want Africa released. Anyways, so the United States is asking for 1,000. We don't even know why. 1,000 troops. Haiti has 10,000 police, and supposedly 10,000 police haven't been able to stop these little ridiculous whatever gangs.
Right.
Okay, haven't been able to do it for 3 years since the United States agents killed Jovenel Moïse. Right? It was the DEA, FBI. I'm not making it up. So the US creates the problem, and now it wants to fix it with more intervention. Right? So they had a illegal fake election legitimized by the OAS, who's part of the core group. And then Jovenel Moïse was declared president. He did his years, and then he was not supposed to be there when he died. But what happened with him was, even the collaborators at some point, they want to do something for their family. So when he realized he was only working on behalf of the Haitian oligarchs and the core group, he sneaked out and went to Turkey to meet with Russia to try to give, because the only way we're ever going to get out of this is if we have a nuclear power, because the white man don't understand nothing but violence.
That's it. You can say that one more time.
Yeah, nothing but violence. So he went to Turkey. He met with Russia. He came back with a couple of contracts to provide electricity and some infrastructure for the masses. The United States had 2 cats and a dog. They were so pissed. Because here it is, they spent all that money creating a president, right? They called him the banana man, and he was supposed to have some banana plantation, which they made up.
Right.
Okay. And he was a money launderer, so they had dossiers on him. They only make president Black people they have dossiers on.
Right.
Because they're gonna run you, right? So within a month after Jovenel Moïse came back from Turkey and had accepted the Russian ambassador to his appointment as an ambassador in Haiti. Like, we don't have one, right? He was killed by the intelligence agencies. And then the FBI runs to Haiti to talk to all the suspects and takes a bunch of them to Miami to have a classified trial.
Right.
And once in a while how that work? How that work? Okay.
Amazing. Right.
All right. So they have their classified trial. Once in a while, they'll tell you that the Colombians who they trained killed Jovenel Moïse in his house. And the Colombians somehow flew to the Dominican Republic, and the United States, that has the largest embassy in the Western Hemisphere, did not know about it. And these 18 Colombians, went into his house and killed him. And who hired these 18 Colombians? A security company in Miami.
Right.
Tied to the FBI. The same security company that tried to take down Maduro for Guaido. Same one. With a Venezuelan CEO. So now we're supposed to think that all of them are in prison. These are CIA agents, DEA agents. I'm not saying it. The New York Times says it.
Right.
So the U.S., just look it up. Okay. When they went to Jovenel Moïse's house to kill him, the Colombians, right? Remember, the U.S. has the largest embassy in the Western Hemisphere with over 1,000 military right there. And 30 minutes from us, they got another naval base at Guantanamo Bay. And you're going to tell me 18 military foreign is going to land in Haiti, which they rule, and they don't know about it.
Right. That's insane.
He's gonna go up the mountain in the middle of the night at 1 o'clock, where there's no electricity, right? You gotta see the lights, and no U.S. saw it.
Right. And they didn't just kill just anyone. I mean, they killed the president.
They tortured that man just to let every Haitian know, don't ever try to get yourself in alliance. Okay. And since they did that, the gangs that he used to stop the demonstrations, they went private. You know, they started, doing stuff on their own because there was nobody to lead them anymore. So
Right.
that's where we are, right? So now that the U.S. wants to bring another occupation to fix the problem that it created. And these Negroes don't know a darn thing. And they're sitting there with Biden talking about, we're going to help the poor. Thank you. We need no more help. I want Biden and Hillary Clinton to give us the $13 billion they collected from the earthquake that nobody knows where it went.
How about that?
Right. So they have about 10,000 Haitian police. Here's the contradiction, people. Okay. If you don't remember anything I say, remember these next two things. When they ask you, that, Haitians need foreign intervention. These are the reasons you're going to say why we don't need foreign intervention. They say they're going to get 1,000 Kenyans. We have 10,000 police. So, and the 10,000 police couldn't take care of these people, but the 1,000 Kenyans can. That's number one. Number two, we don't make the guns. The U.S. is the one dumping the guns, and he's making sure the guns go to the gangs and not the police. So right now, the police in Haiti are outgunned by the weapons that the oligarchs give to the gangs. And guess what? There's an embargo. The United States specifically embargoes guns in Haiti. And who is it's enforced against? The Haitian police. You understand? Like I said, I didn't want to ask your minds, but I just want to let you know. But let me give you something even worse. Okay, and then I'm done. Even worse. Okay, there's this thing called the Biden program, where you don't even need to have a passport or go, because nothing is working in Haiti. So how do you get a passport to come to America? You don't need one. They're going to do it right at the airport for you. They want the people out right at the air. When I was doing this back when I was a young kid, like I said, it would take years. Right now, from application to coming to America, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And I was like, what's going on? And guess what? Inside the Haitian police headquarters, the U.S. put in a Biden program office so that Haitian police can go into exile in Haiti. And yet they want to bring 1,000. What's going on, people? All right. So did I F up you?
Yeah, I'm going to definitely have to take a break on this one.
Inside the Haitian police, they have a headquarters so that the police, and so far, 25% of the police have gone into U.S. program and left Haiti when we need police.
This is wild. I also want to point out, because you mentioned the 26 Venezuelans that were involved in this assassination, and you mentioned that they were trained by a security force right here in Miami, and that particular security force is the CTU Security, based in Miami, and it's owned by a Venezuelan businessman by the name of Tony Intriago.
Right. And how many years did it just gave him?
Man, shit.
Yeah, he's supposedly. Now remember, I couldn't go to the trial because it's classified, but they just put it out in the news that he got life supposedly.
Yeah. We don't. I mean, what they meant is he got life on an island somewhere, and he has his feet kicked up, and they waiting for the next week. Right. I'm confused as to how you have this. What did you say the trial was?
They're classified.
I keep wanting to say mock trial because I mean, we know that it's I don't even
mean,
think they even went for it.
whose interests are they? Are they? Oh, the Haitian people?
This is super gangster. I mean, just how this whole thing works.
What's happening in
Yeah.
Haiti when human beings wake up and actually hear what I just told you,
Right.
and real journalists start looking at this, you're going to see how kamikaze, gangster, and mafia and criminal the U.S.
Right.
government really is.
Without a doubt. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Listen. Thank you for wrecking my day.
I told you I had to read some Brown Tanner to get through this.
Yeah, I gotta read some brown rum to get through this. But listen, definitely as always, I got to get you back on here sooner. I just saw my timeline the other day. It said I didn't have you on for 2 years. I don't know what happened. I'm gonna blame myself because I know you will. But we gotta definitely I gotta get a report with you at least once a month. We gotta have you come through and just
I really appreciate you. I know how long you've been doing this. So kudos to you.
Listen, I mean,
Kalonji,
folks like you keep me great.
Of course.
We don't have a choice. We have absolutely no choice. This is what it is. And there's so many weak cowards amongst us that we're forced to stay the course, because if not, then we lose. And in the mortal words of our man Dessalines, as you can see above my head, it's liberty or death.
Liberty or death.
That's what it is.
And that's liberty all we're here for. I promise you we're going to take care of them. We are the resistance.
Man. Listen, coup d'etat.
They can do whatever they want to do. Not going to happen.
Yes. We're going to win. We're going to win. We don't have a choice. Gratitude again for coming on.
Drumming on... No. Yes, let me tell your audience, because your audience will understand. There is the United States is using sound war right now. And if anybody knows anything about sound and rhythm, it's the Black man and the Black women. And I'm telling you guys, it's time to take out those drums. So we're going to take out our drums. Professor Small is going to do it with me, and we're going to do it all over the world on April 8th during the total eclipse. Right. And here's what, those of you who do have drums, and you don't even have to have drums, I want you to remember that sound is very important. And they're using sound as a nuclear warfare right now. You don't see it, but remember, if you feel something, okay, take out your drum, take out something. We're on April 8th. That's the day of the total eclipse.
And it's also the anniversary of proclamation. So we got to remember that part as well.
Yes.
This is the anniversary, 220 years. Yes.
So here we are. We're going to be drumming not only for the liberation of Haiti, the liberation of the Congo, because the Congo have been suffering so long. Yes. And we're the same people, and I feel it in my bones. And for Black America, there is a knot. There is a spiritual knot in Black America, in Angola. That has to go. And so those are the three things that we're going to be drumming for. The prison industrial complex got to open up in America. And remember, the European never stopped slavery in America with Angola right there in Louisiana.
That's right.
Okay. That should be one of the most important things for Black Americans to remember, that we have to burn that space down spiritually.
That's right. Because
those security guards have been there since slavery. Same family in that same space.
Indeed.
And they call it Angola.
Oh yeah, a straight up plantation. And we remember the Angola 3, which were 3 Black Panther brothers who suffered and was tortured up in that particular space as well. You know, but Angola was and is a real live plantation in Louisiana.
It needs to be gone.
Yeah, that in places like Parchment.
Politicians have to be, you know, that this has to be, it needs to be gone. It has too much a lineage. We can't be human beings and allow that travesty to continue.
Yes, without a doubt.
So I will be drumming for those three things, and you should also drum for whatever personal abundance and healing.
I'm breaking the drums out. Yes,
that's right.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kalonji.
Without a doubt. Thank you. We appreciate you, and we'll be speaking soon. You know what I mean? So definitely stay on point. You're checking out RSTV. That was Ezili Danto, who you'll be seeing more of here on RSTV. And we appreciate you all for checking in with us on this nice Monday morning. It's a whole lot of things you could be doing, but instead you was hanging with us. And, you know, we have a lot coming up. So dig in the archives, you know, stay on point. We're going to keep this revolution going. We're going to keep this movement moving. And, you know, we're going to win in spite of ourselves. I'm going to close out with my man, Amir Suleiman, one of my brothers here in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? On this beautiful day, Dead Man Walking.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Okay, I'm going to do one more poem. One more poem, okay? And this is by request by Mr. Man in the back. Bismillah. This poem also has 4 reasons for being. Number 1 is a poem of desperation. Number 2, it is a poem to remind those who would like to be reminded. Number 3, it is a poem to remind those who would like not to be reminded. Number 4, it is to inform those that don't know. I'm a dead man walking, a mute man talking, a blind man watching my brothers die. And I've built our coffins much too often, and it gets so dark when our mothers cry. I know more than I want to, but not nearly enough. I thought I was writing for the love, but it just turned to be lust, and my trust in us was gullibility. The reality's just that. I'm not who I was, nor who I will be. But sometimes I feel me visiting, and I fill me with the lush scent of soul, the flavor of feeling, a rush of color. I think the pleasure may kill me. The pressure squeezes and spills me into the language of the unseen, the unthought, and the undreamed, and my heart begins to pump the thick, rich fluid of verse, searching for a simple word or phrase to fill the phase between the wet nurse and the black hearse. And I know sometimes my words lack worth, lack depth, lack girth, lack the distance to travel from heaven to earth, or from mind to brain, or from soul to flesh. I hold my breath and I hollow hope that my hopes ain't hollow. It's just a message in a bottle, or a genie in a bottle, or a baby in the bottle, or a wine in his bottle. The symphony of me is stuck in staccato like a broken beat, breaking the vinyl into bits of blackness, spinning in circles. Come down, selector. Last night the DJ took my life and left the speakers empty and the speakers speechless, and the dancers still dancing or not. They don't see our music as musing, merely amusing amusement. How could they know in basement booths we balance a nexus between where the soul and the flesh is, where the science of intellect is? We rock jeans like a necklace and drop jewels in gutters. But they fooled our mothers into thinking that they could raise sons in the darkness of night. But isn't the night always dark before the sun is raised? And when the sun is raised, doesn't he make the block hot, and the eyes squint, and the breasts sweat, and the trees grow, and the children play? The raised sun makes the pavement see the wavy apparitions, the mirage of future, But I know I'm a dead man walking, a mute man talking, a blind man watching my brothers die. And I've built our coffins much too often, and it gets so dark when our mothers cry. So now I'm walking a thin line between love and hate, between words that are spoken and beats that break. There's a thin line between a bullet in the chamber and a bullet in the brain. I'm civilized, sane with a little savage in me. There's not a little savage in me, it's just a lot of passion in me. And sometimes the soul rolls out of control without a glass of Remy. And some niggas are fine with being slaves just as long as master's friendly. And others spit fire at mass until the Mac is empty. You don't need to pass a semi to see the assassin in me. But know that no soul is taken accidentally. The angel of death has an itinerary and snatch you right out of your Bentley, right out of your Gucci jeans, and right out of your Fendi, right out of your dashiki, and right out of your Kenti. Allah has written in his book and there's no erasing the pen's ink. So why do we ignore what God knows and rely what men think? We're just boys in the back street trying to get in sync. But my balance is off. My talent is lost. I've married my aunt, but she's barren, of course, and I can hear in her voice that we're nearing divorce. So before I hear him in court, I may have to kill my dreams and bury the corpse. I shed a tear for the loss. I feel like I'm bearing the cross, but my conception is so far from immaculate. For the most part, we a bunch of bastard kids. Our fathers are gone, caught on a sadomasochist because our lives are dead wrong, but resurrected like Lazarus because our mothers are strong. And our romance is about as romantic as the master's kiss, but we have got to move on. And our lives are about as painful as the master's whip, but we have got to move on. And I wish I could just sing for justice, but I know no such song. I know about Shahada, Salat, and Quran, Jihad, martyrdom, and homemade bombs. And sure, they're gonna say I'm wrong for talking about homemade bombs, but at least the free world can drop A-bombs and napalm. And got a nerve to ask, why do they hate us when they still got the blood on their palms? When they stayed long and sang songs about freedom and justice all bloody day long. They claim to live right, but they have got to be dead wrong. And maybe just because I'm so young and headstrong, but right now I'm ready to run headlong into enemy fire. It's like we desire death. I just got the same blood that pumps to a lion's chest. I come from a line of warriors that take off their iron vest, unsheathe their swords and spread to the thick of the mess. So I am begging them now, send me your best. There's only two possible outcomes. One, I can send them to rest. Or two, they can send me to my Lord. I like the second one the best, but I will kill their killers and live and settle for less. Cause I'm already a dead man walking, a mute man talking, a blind man watching my brothers die. But I won't build all coffins, and I will not take part in that death of my heart's kin. I'd rather die. Allah.